This is a introduction to Form 1 algebra. And before we get into actual algebra, what I have to do with you guys is teach you how to work with sign numbers, right? Another word for sign numbers are directed numbers, and more appropriately, they're called integers, right? So what will we learn during the session? So during the session, we're going to be looking at the basic rules for directed numbers, for integers, right? Sign numbers. We're going to look at the entire number line. So previously, you guys would have done, in primary school, you would have worked with only one side of the number line, which is predominantly positive numbers. And you'd have added and subtracted numbers there, right? But you were adding and subtracting positive numbers. You were multiplying and dividing positive numbers. Now we're going to look at both sides of the number line. So we're going to be looking at basically how you add both positive and negative numbers. So there's some rules pertaining to that. Basically, we tend to add numbers when the signs are the same. So we learn to identify the signs on numbers, and we're going to add those numbers when the signs are the same. When signs are different, we tend to subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the larger number. Multiplication and division is a bit more straightforward. Basically, once the numbers being multiplied carry the same sign, then the answer is always positive. If the numbers being multiplied or divided have different signs, then the answer is always negative, right? Usually when we multiply and dividing more than two sign numbers, we always start from the left and we work in pairs and move across. So those are some of the things that we're going to get into in today's session. All right, so let's talk about the number line. So as I mentioned previously, the range of numbers that you've been using up until now was just on one side of the number line, which is the positive side of the number line, right? Also for subtraction questions, when you're subtracting in times before, these subtraction questions as well too, the larger number was always positive. So this is why your answers were always positive answers, right? We just get more tablet and pen. To make some of those squiggles as we go through. So now we want to look at both sides of the number line, right? We want to look at both sides of the number line, the full range of the number line, so to speak. So the number line has both a positive and a negative side, as you can see on the screen here right now, right? So 0 is the mid-mark, and to the right of 0, we have our positive numbers, and that goes all the way up until infinity. And to the left of 0, we have our negative numbers, and that as well too goes all the way to infinity, right? So now that we're getting into algebra, we're going to come across both positive and negative numbers, and we have to learn how to perform basic operations, which are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, involving these positive and negative numbers, right? So the numbers that are further to the right of that 0, right? Not just on the 0, but generally as you move on either side of the number line, the further right you go are the larger numbers, and the further left you go, right, are the smaller numbers. So let's take, for example, 5 and 1. So I'm gonna just write on that screen here for you. Here we have 5, and this is 1. Now, based on what we're saying here, the numbers that are further to the right are larger, and we're going to test it on our positive side of the number line. These are larger than those to the left. Would you agree with me if I say that 5 is larger than 1? Could you use your mic to make it easy? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
5 is larger than 1. That makes sense, right? And what about 4 and 0? 4 is further to the right. This is my right-hand side here. So 4 is further to the right. Is 4 larger than 0? Greater than?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. Right? And even if we did another number line, just going to draw one on the screen here. And let's just say this is 37. just make up something here and put this as 23. If I circle 37, is 37 further to the right on the number line than 23? Yes? So if I
Yes,
go in,
sir.
it is, right? 24, 25, 26, and we go all the way up to 37. 37 is further to the right, and you do agree that 37 is larger than 23. Now let's look at the opposite. So the numbers to the left are smaller than those to the right. So if I look at 2 and 5, so I'm circling 2 and I'm circling 5. Is 2 less than 5?
Yes, sir.
It is, right? Because this one, 2 is further to the left than 5 is. So the smaller number is further to the left, right? And numbers that are further to the left are usually smaller than those that are to the right. Now, it's very simple there, and I needed to make that point because when we go to look at the negative side, it holds for the negative side as well. Sometimes students tend to get confused because now, previously, you'd have looked at the number itself and think that, all right, well, -5, if I circle -5 and -1, right? You would think that -5 maybe should be larger than -1, but that's not correct, right? Because we are saying that the numbers that are further to the right are larger than those to the left. So 1 is further to the right than 5 is. So 1 is actually, -1 is actually larger than -5, right? So here's my example. -1 is greater than -3. Is -1 further to the right than -3?
Yes, sir.
It is, right? So that's why -1 is greater than -3. And what about -3 and -5? Which one is larger?
Negative 3.
-3 is going to be larger, that's correct, right? So -4 and -1, which one is smaller?
-4, sir.
-4, right? Because that one, as I said here, numbers further to the left are smaller than those to the right. So -4 is less than -1. And what about -2 and 0? Which is smaller?
-2, sir.
-2, right? Now, usually when we're writing these things in maths, we wouldn't say larger or smaller. What we would say is greater than, right? Or less than. And there's a sign for greater than points to the right, and less than points to the left, right? So just bear that in mind, and that's important. So here's our first activity. I want you to use your less than and greater than signs, right? So remember, this one is less than, and this one is greater than. Right, so this is where you're going to write. So you're using your notebooks and you're going to write for me, right? I've done number 1 for you. 5 or 3, right? So 5 is greater than 3, and I'm using the symbol greater than to show it, right? So between -5 and 3, you're then going to say, well, -5, that's not greater than 3. It is less than -3. Understand? If I have -11 or let's say 4, right? Then I'll say -11 is greater than or less than 4?
Less than 4.
Less than 4. So we use the less than sign. And what about if I have -2 and -7, right? What sign would I use here? -2 and -7. Is -2 greater than or less than -7?
Greater than.
Greater than. So I use the greater than sign. Everybody understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent. So you guys are going to complete numbers 3 to 8. Well, you could copy the first 2 that we did together, right? You're going to complete this for me, and then we're going to correct together. Yeah? Let's correct. So we have -7 and Let's clear all of these. Right, so we said here -5 was less than -3. What about this one? -7 is greater than or less than -6? You just use
Less than 2.
less than -6. Very good. What about 4? 4 is greater than or less than -4?
Greater than
than.
2.
Very good. Greater than -4. Right, so pay attention to the signs that we use, all right? -8 is less than or greater than -5?
Less than 2.
Less than.
Less than -5, right? You'll have the hang of it. -2 is less than or greater than -4?
Greater than -4,
Greater
sir.
than, sir.
Very good, right? Because it's further to the right. -1 or -1?
Is equal
Equal?
to 2.
Very good. Right, and what about 6 or -5?
6 is greater than.
Greater
Greater
than.
than.
Right, excellent, very good. So you'll have the hang of it. Good job. All right, so just double check your answers. If you need to make any corrections, you can take it off of the screen now. All right, so you're going to move on to the other slide. Right, so proper name for sign numbers, as I mentioned before, was directed numbers, right? And actually, we refer to them as integers. When you're doing types of numbers, integers is the correct name for these numbers that we're talking about on the both sides of the number line. Now, we want to practice using brackets when we work with directed numbers or integers, because we don't want to jumble signs together, right? We don't want to have signs jumbled together, meaning that I don't want to have a positive and a negative sign next to each other, and we can't really differentiate what's going on there, right? So we want to use brackets when we are working with these numbers. So when we work with sign numbers, it's not advisable to write these signs next to each other. What that could lead to is a bit of confusion, and sometimes you may end up getting an incorrect answer because you are not working the signs out before you actually work the sum out. And what do I mean by working the signs out? Well, when we have signs together like this, like in this one here, we need to kind of resolve the net sign for this, right? We can't have a positive and -4 at the same time. So the right way of writing this is putting in -4 in our bracket. And then we need to look at the interaction between the sign outside of the bracket and the sign inside of the bracket. And here we kind of introduce multiplication, right, indirectly. Because we know brackets mean to multiply. You guys would have seen that from your primary school studies. So anytime we are multiplying, or we are looking at signs inside and outside the bracket, if the two signs happen to be the same, like this, right? Then we would look at it, or we would say the net sign is a +4, right? Anytime the signs are different, like this one, then the net sign is a negative sign. And we'll write it like this, right? Now, if it's the same as in this one here, when we rewrite it, we will rewrite it as -9 + 11. Now, I like to call this the net sign, right? It's like the final sign that we're going to use here before we work out the question. Now, the purpose of this exercise is just to help you learn to rewrite this second line. We're not going to work it out as yet. I just want you to learn how to rewrite the signs or rewrite the question so that there's no longer, or there's not two signs next to each other as we've seen here, right? You're going to do it in 2 steps. So the steps are, firstly, you're going to put brackets, because I did all of these purposefully without any brackets. So you're going to do this first and write this number here in our bracket. After you do that, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to resolve this net sign here. Anytime they are not the same, meaning one is positive, one is negative, then the net sign you will get is going to be a negative sign or a minus sign. Anytime they are the same, as in this example here, right? We write this like this. We put the plus here, and this is plus 10 here, right? When I'm rewriting it, I'm going to put -3. And because these two are the same, I'm going to put positive or plus 10, right? Anytime they're different, as in this one, then when I write it, I'll put +2, right? Put this in a bracket, and then I'll put plus -14. So that's the first line. Next, you're going to work this out. So when I work it out, I don't need to put the brackets here anymore. All right, +2 minus 14. Why? Because these two are different. Last one here, we have +6 minus -10. These two signs are same or different?
Different, sir.
This one, these two. Same signs, minus and minus, negative and negative.
Same size too.
Same? Yeah,
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
they are the same. And when they are the same, like just like this one, then we will write a plus sign. All right, so I'll write it here for you so you remember. So if I have a plus outside and a negative here, then this is going to be -2. Right? If I have a negative and a plus inside of here, then this is going to be -2. But if I have a plus here and another plus here, correct word is a positive sign. You just say plus because it's easier for you, right? You're going to get +2. And if I have a negative and a negative, signs are the same there, I'm going to get a +2. Does everybody understand that? If you do, just put a Y in the chat board for me. Yeah? That's good. Logan is good. Are you really okay with that? Right, so it's like a puzzle. We're looking to see what the sign outside and inside is, out and in. Right, if they're the different, here we have different signs outside and inside the bracket. Here we have same signs. And I'm talking about these signs here. Are you okay now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Right. So now for the exercise. So I'm going to leave this write-up I have up. You're going to get some practice with it now. So I'll do one more here for you. First, you are going to write all of these numbers with their signs in brackets. Right. So when I say with their signs, the sign is that is directly in front of the number, to the left of the number. That's its sign. Right. Next, we are going to work out what the net sign is here. Right? If they're different, in this case, it's different, we're going to get negative or -17. And that's what you're going to do for me with these questions. Everybody understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's just finish this one. So for this one, I'll put what? -11. And what I'll put here? We have a positive and a negative. +13 or -13?
Minus.
Minus, right? Right? So you go back here each time. Right? And you look at what you're seeing. There's a plus and a minus, I use a minus. If there's a minus and a plus, I use a minus. Once they're not the same, they're not matching, then it's going to be a minus. If they're the same, like a plus and a plus or a minus and a minus, then we get a net sign, a positive net sign. Yeah. So you're doing 3 to 10 for me. Still copy 1 and 2 as the examples, but you're doing 3 to 10 for me, just as I did for 1 and 2. So you're going up to that part of writing it out. And leave all the space, because the next thing we're going to do is actually work it out next. Yeah? All right, so we're going to correct now. We're starting from number 3. So we said the next line, and I'm writing across here for now, right, is you want to put these things in brackets, right? So we don't have anything just liming around the place here. We want to tidy up. So this is my second line. So I put in 2 numbers with their signs in brackets, and I'm trying to add these 2 numbers, but this is a negative number here, right? And we need to resolve the sign. And when I go and I look at my rules on this side here, this is my rules, right? If the signs are different, it means that that net sign there is going to be negative, right? That's what we should look like for that one. And then for number 4, we put this in a bracket, -3 plus, put this one in a bracket, 10. It looks much neater that way. We go back to rules, and I'm seeing here, all right, if I have a plus outside the bracket, a plus inside the bracket, then the net sign there is also a plus, so a positive sign. Oops, got 10. Right. Next one, we're gonna put this in our bracket as well. And you have a plus, another plus here. This is going to be a negative. My rule here says that that's going to be a plus. That's what we're going to get. This one, brackets to make it look nice and neat. Brackets here again. Then we're going to resolve the signs. This is a +7. Plus and plus are going to get a +8. Everybody good so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, +2 plus open brackets -14. Right, +2. A plus and a minus here, that's going to give me a minus based on the rules. Right, and that's going to be 14. Right, next we have -5. And we have negative. But it's in our bracket. This is in a +8. -5. So a minus and a plus based on the rules here is going to give me a minus. Okay, 8, sorry. Then we have +17 minus +7. That's going to be +17 and a negative and a positive, that's -7. The last one, +6 minus, but it's in our bracket. These 2 signs here are the same. So I'm going to get a plus. Yeah, everybody had that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right, excellent job.
Sir.
Good job, guys. Right, so like I said, these are going to build on each other, right? Let's look at the other slide. Right, so this is me with my brackets. And then this is what you guys just did. Right, you work out the net sign for me. Right? That's what we just did there. Now we want to talk about the rules. Right, so you all did everything together for me in one. Right, this is what you all just did for me. These are the answers. So first we put them in brackets, then we resolve the net sign, and we got all of these answers here. Right, so that's for your reference. When you're looking at the slides later on, you'll find the answers there. Now we want to actually look at applying some simple rules for adding the numbers. Now I use the word adding because that's all we're really doing, right? It's just that we add in both positive and negative numbers now. But it's really just adding. We're not really taking away. We're subtracting when the signs between the two numbers, or when the two numbers, one is positive and one is negative. That's actually when we subtract. So for directed numbers or integers, right, we are adding everything. And there's rules for when we have the same sign on the numbers that we're adding, right? Or when we have different signs on the numbers that we're adding, right? The rule basically is if the signs are the same, then we are going to add the two numbers and keep the sign that they have. So I'll just give you a little example. If I have -3 and I have another -3 here, or let's say a -9, the signs on these two numbers are the same. That's what I mean by same sign, right? So after I identify or I look at the signs on the two numbers, right? The rule says if the signs are the same, we are going to keep that sign and add the two numbers together. So when we're adding the numbers, I'm talking about the numbers themselves. So there's two steps to working these things out. One, we must work out what the sign is first. And then two, we must decide whether we're going to add or we're going to subtract the numbers. And the signs tell us whether we add or subtract. If the signs are the same, then we're going to add the two numbers together. So here I get -12. And now it makes sense, right? Because look at this. If I have a number line, look at this. And I have -3 on the number line. And let's say it's a -3, I tell you, take away 9 from -3. Now, if you was on a number line like this and I had 6, and I told you, if I said 6, take away 2, you would go to the left, right? Take away, if we're looking at the number line, you jump backwards. If you guys remember this from primary school, you'll go backwards. 6 take away 2, you're going to go back 2 spaces, right? And that's going to give you your answer. That's what you do if you have 6 take away 2. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So with the negative side of the number line, right? If I'm at -3 and I say take away 9, it means that I have to go back 9 times, right? So look at this. This is -4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm going back 9 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. So my answer, if I have -3 minus 9, is going to be -12. Now, that's a kind of long way of looking at it, but it helps us to understand this concept that I'm going to tell you now. If I'm at -3, I'm already on the negative side of the number line. And I want to take away 9 from it. And we know that take away means to go to the left. It means that my answer is going to be further down the left side of the number line. And further down the left side of the number line, if we're already at -3, it's just more negative numbers, right? So that's why the rule is when the signs are the same, we keep the sign, right? Because it means that the two numbers are on the same side of the number line. We keep any sign and we add the numbers together. Now, when the signs are different, let's say, for example, I have -3 plus 9 now. We are going to take the sign of the larger of the two numbers. So we always work out the sign first, right? And you'd see as you go along how I build on this with algebra. With these questions, we work in sign first, then we're looking at the number part. So you must always figure out what the sign of the answer is going to be. So the rule is, if the numbers are carrying different signs, here this 3 is negative, and this 9 here is positive, right? So that means they have different signs. I want to keep the sign of the larger of the numbers. And when I say of the numbers, I'm talking about just the number itself. Forget the sign for now, right? Between 3 and 9, which is larger? Which is larger?
9.
The 9 is larger. So I am going to keep the sign of the larger number. What is the sign of that larger number?
The addition.
Right. So we could say plus, so we could say a positive sign. So I am keeping that sign. So that's 1/2 of my answer here. So I have a half an answer so far. The next part of the answer now is going to be, what number am I going to put in this box? Right? I'm saying -3 plus 9, but what's the answer? Okay, I say yes. We have to work out the sign, and we take in the sign of the larger number, which is 9. That's easy. What's the next step? The next step, if those signs in front of these numbers here, and I'm talking about these signs here, these signs, if they are different, then we take the sign of the larger number and we subtract the two numbers from each other. So if I subtract 3 from 9, what will I get?
6.
6.
Right? So now that I know I'm going to get 6, I've already worked out what my sign is. The answer is going to be +6. Now let's look at that on a number line. I have -3. And if I say add 9, we know add, we have to go to the right. Now, seeing that 9 is larger than 3, and I am at -3, and I'm going to add 9 to it, it means that I'm definitely going to come out of this negative area here. I'm going to come out of negative land, if you want to call it like that, because I'm going to have to jump 9 times this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. So my answer is going to be positive because the 9 is larger. I'm going to be able to move out, right? I'm only 3 deep in the negative area. So since 9 is larger, it's going to wipe out those 3 spaces in the negative side of the number line and take me into the positive. And this is why the rule says, when the signs are different, we're going to take the sign of the larger number, because the larger number is going to take you further towards it, right? So we're going to use that sign, because if that larger number is positive, then we're going to end up on that positive side, right? If it is negative, then we're going to end up on the negative side. So we always find the sign first, right? And the rule is, if the signs are different, take the sign of the large number and then subtract the two values, right? So you say subtract and take the sign of the largest absolute value, because here I'm not talking about -3 and +9. I'm just talking about the absolute values. 9 larger than 3. If it is, use the sign that's in front of the 9. Then subtract the small number 3 from 9, and that's how we get 6. Is everybody all right with that? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
The
Yes,
other
sir.
rules, yeah, go ahead. You saying something?
No, sir, I just answered. I
Okay.
just said yes.
All right. So the other rules is for multiplication and division. We're not going to jump the gun and talk about those as yet, although it's a lot easier. Once the signs are the same, the answer is always positive. If the signs are different, then the answer is negative. We're going to look at some more worked examples with those different signs. So here I have some worked examples, and they're actually the same questions that you did a little while ago, right? Notice them. So you guys got all the way up until this step here, right? For this one, we said, okay, we need to put brackets. We put the brackets, right? We did that. Then we removed these brackets by working out the net sign here. So we got -11 and -13. The signs here, are they the same or are they different? The signs in front of the -11 and -13. Same signs or different? It's not a trick question. What would you say?
Same signs.
Same signs.
Right. So the same signs, we are adding and we are keeping the sign. So look at this. We keep the sign, always work out the sign part first, that's negative. And then we add the two numbers, 13 and 11. That's going to give me 24. Right? Let's look at another one. Number 2. Number 2, you did your brackets first, then you resolve these, then you get this. Now, number 2 is different from number 1, because now these signs are what? Same or different? They are different. And the rule is, if the signs are different, we are going to take the sign of the larger number, right? And when I say the number, I'm talking about the absolute number. So is 8 or 17 larger? Which one is larger?
8.
8 or 17. Forget the minus sign. Just think about the number 8 and 17. If I told you you had the
17.
right. So think about
17.
it. When I say larger, think about it like in money. Right? You always, if I'm offering to give you money and I have $8 in one hand and $17 in one hand, and I say take the larger sum, right? You're going to take the one that's larger, 17, right? So forget the signs at this point. When we want to work out what sign we're going to be using when these are different, we are looking at the numbers themselves. So between 8 and 17, the 17 is the larger of the numbers, right? We're talking about the absolute value of the number. We're not talking about the signs or anything at this point. So once I identify between these two numbers, 8 and 17, which one is larger, I'm going to take the sign of the larger number. So we said 17 is larger. So what is the sign in front of 17? Positive or negative? A plus or
Negative.
minus? Negative. Good. All right. Negative is the correct word to use. So we are going to find our sign part first. So our answer is going to be a negative answer because we're taking the sign of the larger numbers. The other half of the rule says subtract. Subtract the two numbers now. So 8 from 17 is going to give me 9. So we always first work out what the sign is for our answer. And second, we work out what the number or the digit or the numeral is. Right? So 8 from 17 is going to give me 9. Right? Number 3. Right? So we did this before. We put them in brackets, we work it out, we get 15 minus 20. Same signs or different signs?
Different signs.
Different signs. And which number is larger, the 15 or the 20?
20.
The 20. So we're taking the minus sign. Yeah. We're taking the minus sign. And then we're going to subtract the smaller number from the larger number, and that's going to give us -5. Yeah?
Yes,
So we have
sir.
next -3 plus 10. Same signs or different signs?
Different signs.
Different signs. And which is larger between the 3 and the 10?
The 10.
So we are going to keep which sign?
The plus sign.
Plus sign. And then we're going to subtract 3 from 10, and that's going to give us
7.
So our answer is +7. You get any hang of it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So here we have same sign or different signs?
Different
Different.
sign.
Right. Which number is larger, 9 or 11?
11.
11.
So which sign are we going to keep?
The plus sign.
Right. And then we're going to subtract 9 from 11. And our answer is going to be?
+2.
Very good. That's it. Next one. Same signs or different signs?
Same signs.
Same signs. So if the signs are the same, we are keeping the sign. Yes? And then
Yes,
we will
sir.
add the numbers. 7 and 8 is going to give me 15.
15.
All right. The other one, 7. Same signs or different signs here?
Different signs.
Different sign.
Good. And which is larger, the 2 or the 14?
14.
14.
14. Good. So I'm going to keep the
Minus sign.
minus sign. And then I'm going to take 2 from 14, and that's going to give me
-12.
-12. Excellent. Right. Next, we have -5, -8. Same signs or different signs?
Same signs.
Same signs.
Signs. So when the signs are the same, we are keeping the sign. So my answer is going to be a
-2.
-13, right? And add the 5 and the 8. Yeah? Everybody have the hang of it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you want to try some on your own?
Yes, sir.
Ariel, yeah? Lugan?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So to make it a bit easier for you, I did 2 separate groups. So on the left hand of the screen, you have same sign questions, right? So if the signs are the same, we keep the sign and add the numbers. And on the right hand of the screen, we have different sign questions. So here, I just made a little note of your rule here for you, just in case you forget. Right, so for the different sign, we keep any sign of the larger number and subtract the smaller from the larger number. All right, so can you try these two for me?
Yes, sir.
All right, nice. So try these two for me.